welcome to the FSF podcast. We want to remind you that this is the show that is made by nerds for nerds. So if you have found your way to our nerdery, congratulations and welcome. Our guest today is an actress who starred in movies that you have loved over the years, like ET and Cujo, The Hills Have Eyes, Critters, Jeepers Creepers, Reborn, television shows like Just Add Magic and 9/11, and or 911, we should say. And her latest theatrical release, Stream, which just came out to theaters. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. And there's a whole lot more. Honestly, her IMDb is just filled with memorable movies and television shows. I am so excited to welcome Dee Wallace to the FSF podcast. Welcome to the show, Dee.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you.
I am so excited. Honestly, I've been talking with your agent for quite a while. I've been wanting to get you on the show, and with your filming schedule and everything that you got going, because you are quite the busy lady. We've had a little bit of difficulty nailing down a time to get you, but I'm excited that we were able to finally make this work.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the tenacity.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, before we get into anything that is career based or even the latest movie you have coming out, I want to talk to you about social media, because I know that you've been having some issues with your social media, and the lack of support from the social media presence that you've been posting with, like Facebook, not really kind of giving you some help. I understand that you've had some social media hacks to your accounts. So, what can we do as fans to help you, and what's going on with your account?
Well, it's really embarrassing. I have this whole other business. I'm a clairaudient channel, and I've had a radio show on every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for 20 years now, where people call in to talk to my channel.
Hmm.
I teach love. I teach self-responsibility in your own creation. I teach higher consciousness. And these people got to me, these people who hacked my Facebook account. Um, and they said, "Oh, look, we see you're going to be on such and such show. We want to help you promote it, and we want you on our show. We'll pay you
Oh
for it."
boy.
And so I even got online with my assistant and spoke with them. They had Tony Robbins' logo at the bottom of
Hmm.
uh, their email or whom I was talking to. Um, they just snowed all of us, and that led to them taking over my Facebook. That was months and months ago. They're posting pornographic things
Oh
on.
no.
We cannot get Facebook to help us. We can't even get anybody to connect with us from Facebook. It's totally irresponsible. I can't believe that our government is allowing this to happen either. I've actually paid a professional person who has had great success in the
Hmm.
past getting hacked accounts back. They can't get anywhere. It's not okay and it's not right. I would love all of my followers to post on their Facebook, please help reinstate Dee Wallace's account. At this point, I don't know what else to do, and it's happening to a lot of celebrities.
Hmm.
Not okay
No,
that
that
an organization that big is taking no responsibility for even conversing with the people that have been attacked.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know this is not an isolated incident. I know that there's several accounts, like, the episode that we posted this morning, with the actor Jonathan Sheck. He talked about that, about how his Facebook account was hacked, and he just got his account back, and he's trying to rebuild his audience again, because the people that took over his account absolutely decimated his Facebook following.
Well,
So,
yeah, everybody that follows me is used to positive and love and uplifting. and
Not what
they're
they're seeing.
not even close. I mean,
Yeah,
what you see on there offends me greatly,
understood.
and,
Yeah.
somebody needs to take responsibility for all this. So, any way you guys can rise up and use your voice, it will be appreciated by all of us.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I know that, Facebook is awfully hard to to converse with. There are so many layers that you have to get through in order to get to a living, breathing human being instead of an AI response. Um, so, because now that they're Meta and it's not just Facebook, and Meta incorporates Instagram and Threads and everything else. It's this massive faceless corporation, and there's nobody really to talk to. I think that's the biggest problem. But it's such a dependent upon social media outlet that you think there you I agree with you. You think that there would be a little bit more responsibility from
Well,
their end and accountability.
yeah, this is ridiculous. This is not okay.
So in the meantime, have you started any secondary pages or things like that for people to be able to follow the content that you were
Oh,
putting
sure.
out? Or
I'm on, I'm on everything, uh, and that doesn't distract from the importance of Facebook and the lack of integrity,
oh, sure.
responsibility, and professionalism that is going on in Facebook right now.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Absolutely. I just want to make sure that there's other ways for your fans and followers to be able to see what you're putting out, to see the positivity of what Dee Wallace is doing, and not the whatever it is that these other people are pretending to be Dee Wallace and putting out. So
Absolutely, there is. You can find me on, Instagram and all of them. Um,
okay,
and on my own website, I am dwallace.com.
perfect. Okay. So good. So there are good and responsible social media's ways for people to be able to interact with you and find out what you've got going on, what's happening. But I do like the call to action for us as fans to be able to make a comment, and maybe it's even time to start a hashtag. Help D Wallace.
Oh, good
Something
idea.
along those lines.
I'll get my people on that.
Yeah. Sometimes a hashtag can attract a little more attention when it comes to things like that. So maybe that would work, and hopefully it will.
I will give it a try. Thank you.
All right, and we'll put some notes down below in the show notes when this episode comes out for people to be able to not only find your current and good social media, but also if you do have a hashtag by then that you want us to use, we'll put that down there too. And
All right. I'll make sure and get that to you.
perfect. Okay. Well, hey, let's talk about some good news, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
something happy.
we'll talk about some good news. You recently finished shooting a movie called Stream, which came to theaters back on August 21st. Now, that was just a couple days ago. We're recording this on August 23rd. So I'm hoping you can tell us, as followers and fans, a little bit more about the movie, your role in the movie, and kind of what's going on with it.
Well, it's a horror film, a really good horror film. It's produced by the same people that did Terrifier, that's
Okay.
been taking over everything by storm. Um, Michael Levy directed it, just adored working with him. Lot of great people in this film. It's it's not as gruesome as Terrifier. It's
Okay.
a it's a psychological romp
Okay.
through. Yeah, and, I'm actually in, Charlottesville right now for Spooky Empire convention, and we're gonna have a screening of it here and do a Q&A
Oh,
tomorrow, so
very cool.
I'm excited about that, yeah.
That's very cool. Okay. So what's your role in the movie, and what can people look forward to with it?
Well, I don't wanna give away too much,
Understood.
but
Understood.
I open the film
Okay.
and, you know It's so funny. I spend half my life doing horror films and the other half healing people from fear. Really well for me. Um, but there are some very, very extremely terrifying moments with me in the
Okay.
beginning of yeah. So don't be late
That's
to go see it.
an interesting juxtaposition of your life though, that that you do spend all this time,
Yeah.
because you have so many horror films to your credit, but yet you've also spent so much time doing the work that you do, off camera.
Yeah. And I don't know, if you go on and Google the positive effects of horror films, you will be very, very surprised. It's good for your brain, it's good for your nervous system, it helps us handle our fear. I mean, look, all the Disney movies, right,
Mhm.
have a bad, evil character in them,
For sure.
and children can practice sitting at home in a safe environment, handling their fear,
Mhm.
right? And knowing that they're still okay. Well, you grow up, you do the same thing with all these horror films and end of the world films. We're practicing handling our greatest fears in a safe environment where we know we have a choice.
Okay. That's actually a really cool outlook on it, because I hadn't really considered it from that perspective
Yeah, most
before.
people don't. But if you Google it, it's really fascinating reading. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, scientifically, what they've discovered about how it helps our brain and nervous systems.
Yeah. I've never the more I'm thinking about it right now, I can kind of wrap my head around that, because I can see the benefits of having an adjusted, you know, fight or flight
Yeah,
reaction to that type of, the jump scares, the shock, some of those other things. I could see how that could be beneficial for later on down the road. It's just one of those things. It's kind of a new thought to me. Like I said, I hadn't really considered that
yeah,
as
most people don't. That's why with your lead in, I thought I'd bring it up because it's really interesting to people when they get into the study of it.
that's really cool. Okay, well, that actually leads me nicely into my next question for you. So,
I said
um,
it on purpose that way.
you set the table perfectly. Look at you go. Uh, so many of the websites that I did research on about you, including IMDb, your Wikipedia page, some other websites, fan sites, things along those lines, have all given you the title of Scream Queen, because of the fact you've done so many horror films, and the fact that that's typically only given to actresses who have starred in multiple horror themed movies. So first of all, I'm curious, what do you think about the title of Scream Queen?
I like it.
Okay.
I'm proud of it. Look, doing horror films, you have to have the full bag of emotional expression available to you.
Okay.
Um, Look at the movie The Frighteners.
Hmm.
I start out being this very simpy, scared, frail little girl and end
Hmm.
up killing everybody, you know? Um, Cujo just starts out
Yeah.
a trip to the mechanic and ends up I mean, there is every emotion that you would ever have in your life played in that movie.
Yeah.
Hardest thing I've ever done, gotta say. Um, so I did not go looking for horror films, but horror films found me, baby, right away. It's funny, here we are again. The first film I ever did was a religious film called
Okay.
All the King's Horses, and then I went right into The Hills Have Eyes. funny about that with me. But I love playing big emotional arcs, and I love playing truthful emotions. And
Okay.
really no other genre that gives you the opportunity to play all of them in one film, like a horror film does.
Right. No, I would agree with that because I think with a horror film, you have to be able to go from a hard left to a hard right almost immediately in some
Yeah,
scenes. You have to be able to respond at the flip of a switch. So
yeah, and
yeah.
you know, I can go from doing a Hallmark Christmas film
Hmm.
into a really raw horror film. Uh, Fortunately, the business has not cubbyholed me like they do a lot of actors, and
Right.
I'm asked to do a lot of everything, which I love.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for a lot of the people who receive the title Scream Queen, they are that. They're pigeonholed, and that's all they do. All they do is that. Um, but in relation to being the the Scream Queen that you are, I noticed that one of the other titles that you get often in movies is mom. You
You
play
think?
you play mother quite often.
I play mother, uh, more times than not, and it
Mhm,
started, with The Hills Have Eyes, was the mom with the baby,
mhm,
but it really implanted itself after ET. I mean, Mary was everybody's mom or everybody's mom that they wish they had. I have people coming up to me all the time at the cons going, "Yep, you're the mom I always wanted." And I said, "Yeah, because I never knew what the heck was going on." Right? So it's a toss up between I didn't know what was going on and the cat suit dress, you know.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I look at that with you, having the role of mother, and I know that you are a mom yourself. So was that a kind of an easy role for you to slide into, having being a mom already, and then just going, well, I'm just going to do the same thing on screen.
I wasn't a mom already. I hadn't had my daughter
Oh, okay,
when I did ET, but I had a mother. And, I did not consciously base Mary on my mom. And
okay,
my father was a really severe alcoholic when I was growing up.
okay,
So my mom worked, um, left at 7 a.m., got home at 7 p.m., fixed dinner, watched a show, went to bed, started all over again, took us to church on Sundays. So, in essence, I knew that energy of it's all on my shoulders. Um, oh my God, I've got to let my kid stay home and he's sick, but I've got to go to work. I played
hmm,
that out 2 or 3 times with my mother and her angst about having to leave me. So I knew that energy.
okay,
Um, and I didn't consciously base Mary on anybody. The way I work with my technique is I get my energy very, very, very high, and I what my teacher called throw it onto the people that I'm working with, which basically opens up a channel. And so I kind of learn the lines, get my energy to a very high place, and let the character tell me. And a lot of times, um, the character goes right when your mental mind would think you should go left, and the character is always right. A good example is the dinner scene in ET, and
hmm,
when he said he's in Mexico with Sally, I felt all these tears come up. And I thought, "Oh, I can't let the kids see me cry." So I got up and left the table. And Steven came over and said, "Dee, why did you get up and leave? That's not in the script." And I explained to him what happened. And he turned around, he gave his crew a half an hour to build another wall of the kitchen with running water so he could take me over to that and bring me back into that big close up where I say he hates Mexico. And if I had not trusted Mary and Stephen had not trusted me and how I work, that magic would have never happened. And I've seen it happen with every major director that I've ever worked with. That's really, for me, where the magical moments happen when you're shooting.
That's a very cool story. Um, yeah, it's kinda neat to know that that was an improvised thing.
Yeah, and, you know, w I think that's the sign of all the best directors I've
Mhm,
worked with, that they are open to your input. They know exactly what they want, and they're open to your input, and they're open to moments like that that really create the magic. When I did 10 with Dudley Moore,
mhm.
um, we had that big scene at the bar, and Blake had already broken and they were moving to another set, and Dudley started playing the piano. And I just sat there and watched him, and I was moved so much. And Blake walked by and saw how moved I was and the tears, and he said, "Everybody, come back now. Set up now. We're gonna get a close-up of Mary Lewis listening to Dudley play." But you see, if you're too locked into a storyboard, like sometimes young filmmakers are, then
Sure.
you miss those magical moments that oftentimes become the moments on screen.
Well, sure, yeah. Well, that's kind that those are both actually really neat stories, I think that I love finding out things like this where, the pivotal moments, pivotal scenes in movies, you find out are things that are done on the fly, improv in the moment, or
Yeah,
as or in your instance, an actor going with the emotion of the scene and letting that move them through that scene and in response to where they believe their character would go with it. And
yeah.
I
So,
think, and I agree with you. I think that is magical.
you know, o on a whole other side, in The Howling, we lost the generator, and we had to get this establishing shot of the barn. So, John Hora, our DP, had everybody pull their cars up, and we all turned our headlights on, and that's how we lit the scene.
See, that's just good resourcefulness. That's
Yeah, the magic of movies, that's what they're talking about.
right. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do to make it work.
Always, you have to do what you don't e we're not even gonna start on Cujo because I'll never stop talking if I start on Cujo.
Well, I was going to mention one of the things I did in preparation for your interview is I watched the interview with or not all of it, but parts of it. You did an interview with Michael Rosenbaum about a year
Oh,
ago,
yes.
and that was a great interview. The parts that I did watch, like I said, I didn't watch the entirety of it, but I did watch the part where you talked about Cujo and your love for the Pinto. Um,
Yeah, my love for the if I get another one in my life, it'll be too soon.
yeah, yeah, because I think it's interesting for people who aren't on movie sets and who don't understand what you as actors do on a day-to-day basis. It is really interesting, and Michael broke this down for me, or for all of us rather, that the half of the movie was filmed out in the world, and then the second half is all in the car. And
Yeah,
you don't really think about that until somebody says it, and you go, "Oh yeah, he's right." that whole second half of Cujo is basically you and
Yeah,
Danny Pintaro in the car trying not to get eaten by this Saint
yeah,
Bernard.
it's relentless, and, they treated me for exhaustion for 3 weeks after that film. It's
I
my
believe that.
favorite film, by the way, of mine, because I just gave every ounce of everything I had to that film.
Yeah, I can believe that. I can see how that film would be a very emotionally taxing, exhausting
Yeah,
experience.
and, people don't understand that your body and your brain do not know you're acting. So, when we get
Oh,
ourselves
yeah.
uh, those emotional states, it really is like we are in fight or flight for 10 weeks. So I blew all my adrenals. I'm still on adrenal supplements. What we do for our craft. But I
Right?
look at that film and I am proud that every moment is real and comes from a visceral place, not from here.
There are 2 movies, from my youth when I was growing up that scared, well, 3 movies scared the ever living daylights out of me. One of them was the movie Jaws.
Yeah,
Uh, one of them was the movie Arachnophobia. I still don't like spiders. Uh,
me either.
and the other was Cujo. Cujo scared the ever living daylights out of me as a kid, and it
Well,
took me a while to realize that not all dogs were gonna pin me in a car.
yeah,
So,
there were 18 dogs that played Cujo, and they were all
okay.
trained to go after toys. They were the sweetest things.
Oh, sure.
Um, we actually had to tie their tails down because they were wagging them all the time. Every scene you see where we're in an emotional distraught, we probably shot, 10 to 20 times, and, when you're in the scene with the noise of the dog and,
Mhm.
your energy and committing to the emotion of the scene, during shooting, we were scared, and we were never scared of the dogs.
Right. I'm just now picturing the dog going after the side of the car, but, the tail.
Yeah, they actually left 2 or 3 shots in with the wagging tail because they thought it made it look even freakier.
Well, yeah, like the dog was happy to be attacking, so yeah.
Yeah, like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you."
Yeah. Huh. No, I that's a cool little note. I didn't know that about the tail, so that's fantastic. Um, that amuses me greatly, especially because I don't have a Saint Bernard, but I have a pit bull, and everybody's always afraid of pit bulls. With everything that's been in the news
Yeah, I
over the
know.
last 20 years, everybody thinks that pit bulls are horrible dogs. And she's about the sweetest thing on the face of the planet.
Mhm.
Wants to think that she's a big scary pit bull, but she's afraid of her own shadow. But her tail just is always going. And
Yeah,
so
true.
that was the first thing I thought of as soon as you said the thing about the tail, because that would be her name is Mia. That would be Mia. She'd be sitting up on the edge of the couch, looking out the window, barking and growling at everything walking past the house, but her tail's just
Yes, that's what mine does too. But
that's
boy, if I'm there, she'll bark and she'll growl
Mhm.
and her hair will go up. But if I'm with her, she would never hurt anybody.
Oh, absolutely.
If somebody
Yeah.
comes in the house when we're gone, that's another story.
Well, all bets are off then. That's
Yeah.
so what I'm worried about with Mia is that she would think that people like, "Oh, you found the code. You know how to get in the house. All right, well, welcome. The television's over there." So
Oh,
uh
I don't
so
think freedom I don't know because it's never happened, so
right? All right. So here's a question that a lot of times I like to ask at the beginning of the interview, but I'm actually glad that I'm asking it at the towards the end of the interview because we've talked a lot about your the things that you put into your movies. The You talked about, not consciously making Mary from ET after your mother, and you talked about some of those life experiences. So I'm curious because, I said at the outset of the interview that this is a show made by nerds for nerds, and as nerds, we love a good origin story. So, in the story of Dee Wallace, what prompted you to look at a career in the arts?
My mother.
Yeah.
My mother was a secretary by trade, but
Okay.
she was an amazing actress who performed all around Kansas City for the mayor, and she was very active in our church. She would give
Okay.
30-minute monologues about the crucifixion and the birth, and she every year would produce and direct the Christmas story at our church. And I started out as baby Jesus and ended up as Mary. That's how long we did those plays. But I can remember distinctly sitting in a pew. I was around 8 years old, and I was watching my mother perform this very dramatic, what they called readings back then. We call them monologues.
Hmm.
And I looked around, and people from 4 states would come to watch my mother do this, and
Oh
I looked
wow.
down, and all these grown people were crying, and I thought, "Oh, I wanna do this. I wanna move people like my mom does." And, um, my mom and dad somehow, they got me with a modeling agency. Somehow I became the imperial margarine princess. Remember the people
Hmm.
back in the day and they'd pop the crowns on? Well,
Yep.
I was the princess, and then I became the Dell Comic Queen and did all of the publicity with Walt Disney and Dell Comics, which was a subsidiary of Disney. So I
Hmm.
got trained pretty early, and we were very, very poor. My mother bartered her writing and um, acting talents with my dance teacher so I could get dance lessons. Uh, Started me playing the violin at school at a very early age. So she was just very, very focused on the arts. And I was just kind of a natural, really.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your mom, from the way you talk about her, just sounds like a wonderfully wonderful person.
Yeah, I'm sure they're calling her Saint Maxine up there. She was
So,
strong
yeah.
and determined, intelligent, and I grew up watching her help hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. She started, Cancer Action
Okay.
organization, actually started the first smoking withdrawal clinic in the country.
Oh,
And
wow.
she was, yeah, a very multi-talented, intelligent woman who persevered.
Yeah, she sounds like it.
I got all of it, man. I got all of it. Thank you, mom.
I was gonna say, in what ways do you feel you're most like your mother? Is there one thing where you specifically say, "I
Um,
know I got that for sure from mom"?
my kindness
Your
and
kindness?
wanting
Okay.
to help people, which is, when I taught acting, I used to say to my students, we can heal more people in one night than a doctor can in a lifetime. And I have stories from ET to back that up.
Love it.
Um, you know, what we do is healing,
Hmm.
and it allows people to acknowledge things and deal with things and ponder things that they would never have the courage to do otherwise.
Absolutely agreed. Yeah, there's a powerful emotional attachment when it comes to the arts, and if they're done properly, uh, you know, you can it's the power that can be done with a television show or a movie or a stage play, whatever it may be, is is very impressive to me because I know that I've been somewhere in whether it was a movie or a stage play or something with my wife, and we watched something, and you walk away from that thinking, having contemplations about life and discussions about those things, the things that you watched, and the things that the characters went through. I don't think that sometimes that people give that enough credit, and how those interactions that they see played out before them, how those interactions affect their own life.
Yes. And the
So
more that we know ourselves and understand ourselves, the more we can create within our own lives.
yeah. Yeah, and you've definitely done that over your career, Dee. You've had a fantastic career. You've had some movies that have really touched a lot of people. So yeah, that's
And I'm grateful for that. I've just finished 2 really beautiful family films and
nice.
going into a guest star role that, I just booked on a new Netflix series, which
Okay.
is on the other end of the spectrum. So I just love using all the parts of me in the most truthful way I can.
That's great. I love that your career has it doesn't have just one lane to it, that you have all these different lanes of that you've been able to express yourself with acting. I think that's wonderful. Um,
Yeah, very
yeah,
lucky.
I would agree. Actually, I think we're the lucky ones. We've been able to enjoy what you've done. So thank you.
Thank you so
Uh,
much.
all right, Dee, I've got one final question for you, and we like to call it our silly question. And
Okay.
I promised you at the outset that this wouldn't be too tragic of a question. And here it is. Very simply put, Dee Wallace, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Uh, that would have to be the Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Very good choice.
That was my daughter's she was crazed for dinosaurs when she was little,
Love
and
it.
she would go, "Mommy, tie, tie," because she wanted her Tyrannosaurus. She even took it to bed with her, for heaven's sakes. It was crazy. So, yeah, my little T-Rex is my favorite.
Perfect. That's an even better reason why it's your favorite. I love it. All right, Dee, thank you so much for being on our show today. Where can our listeners go, even aside of all the social media issues that you're having? Where can our listeners go to find out more about what you've got going on right now?
You can find me on iamdwallace.com. It's got
Hmm.
news on there about how you can tune in to my Sunday show, which is all about self creation and manifestation. My latest book, Born Giving Birth to a New You, is available on my site and on Amazon, as all my other books are. And,
Okay.
love for everybody to join me on the show. You won't be sorry, promise.
Very good. We'll make sure we put those links in the show notes below
Great.
so everybody has
Thank
a way to be able to look at what you've got going on and check out your books, your upcoming work and everything. And once you get that hashtag thing figured out, like I said, we'll put some notes down below about what's going on with your social media. And if we can help in any way, get your Facebook page back and reinstated properly, get it away from that garbage. We'd love to be able
you.
to help with that as well.
So appreciate it, whatever you all can do. Thank you.
We will try our best. And as a reminder, guys, this is a prime time to remind you that subscribing is the single most important thing you can do to help our show continue to grow. It helps us to get amazing guests like Dee Wallace here to come and tell us stories about things that she's done over the years and have some funny moments to be able to listen to. So please subscribe. It helps more than we'll ever really be able to describe. And help us help Dee. We're going to have that hashtag down there for you. Please use that hashtag. Go out to Facebook, go out to Instagram, use that uh, on all your meta sites. And let's try and get Facebook's attention so that they can help Dee get her pages back. And again, Dee, thank you so much for being on the FSF
It's
podcast.
been a great half hour with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, guys, that's going to conclude us today for the FSF podcast. Tune in next week for another interview. Goodbye.
Copyright 2024 FSF Podcast. Reference any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpodcast.com.